Have you played Guesstimators? It's the weekly quiz and podcast taking the nation by storm. In Guesstimators, your job is to work out what the British public thinks about a range of topics, covering important issues like who's the most impressive Welsh person? How good are the Spice Girls at pub quizzes? And what's the best way to cut a sandwich for the king? Every Monday, you'll get a 10-question quiz sent to you and thousands of other players. You have then until Wednesday evening to complete it. The next morning, our podcast drops, where a celebrity quizzer takes the same quiz with our host, Andy Bush. We've had some great guests like Mel Gedroych, Lloyd Griffith, Bob Harris, Ethan Lawrence, Rosie Holt, Nick Helm, and many, many more. The podcast is the first place you'll hear the answers and find out if you topped our weekly leaderboard. On Friday, you'll get a personalised, marked quiz sheet emailed directly to you. So sign up and play now at guesstimators.com.
Not a great clap, but it was in time.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be a great clap.
Yeah, shit.
It's my intro this time, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is, yes.
Hello and welcome to Shut Up and Answer the Question, the show where we answer your questions, but it's going to take a little while. I'm Ethan Lawrence.
And I'm Sean Antony.
We're back in business.
If this is a business.
One day.
What? Wouldn't it be nice?
One day when we're podcast millionaires. Which
Or
is still the goal.
P?
A million P. A million P's.
What is a million P? 100,000? No. 10,000?
It'll be 1% of what it would be in pounds, right? So,
Well, this is entertaining for
welcome
the podcast.
to Shut Up and Answer the Question.
And that was
where we sit in silence doing maths.
We did shut up and answer that question then, didn't we?
We still haven't answered it.
No, we haven't.
Right, a million P. Right, it's 1% of whatever.
So, yeah, it's 4 zeros.
Right.
So, 10,000.
Okay. Cool.
There we go.
Problem solved.
Thank you,
Right,
and we'll see you next
this
time.
was Shut Up and Answer the Question.
This is why I don't pick the questions.
Yes. Because you pick ones that have an obvious and correct answer.
This is why we should never ask maths questions.
There's
Although
always
the
an
last
answer.
episode was how many, but it was how many owls.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really maths, is it?
No.
Yeah. For people listening at home, as usual, you know that we bank these. So this is episode 2 of session 2 and episode 5 of overall.
Yes.
Yes.
Maths.
Yeah, see?
Mm-hmm.
We love maths here on this program.
Numbers.
If you love maths, why not send an email with a question to shutuppod@yahoo.com. That's SHUTUPPOD at yahoo.com. Or you can chuck us a message on Instagram, Shut Up and Answer Pod, or on TikTok at Shut Up Pod. Although, let's be honest, those ones are taking a while to grow. So if you want to send a message to either of us instead, that might be slightly easier. Sean is Sean Antony VO everywhere, and I'm Ethan D. Lawrence everywhere.
Excellent.
That
And
makes it
well,
easier.
if you see any of our posts as well, if you just want to throw a question into those comment sections,
Just
then
do it.
We'll be keeping an eye on them at some point.
Well, a
as well.
little peek behind the curtain for everyone. This is the resurrected corpse of an older podcast with the same concept.
Yes.
And we recently, well, I say we, Sean discovered a treasure trove
Oh yes.
of questions. So initially there was an air of desperation to us asking for questions, but now it's fine, it's chill, but we do want to give like contemporary shout outs to people. Obviously,
Yes.
if you ask a question, you'll get a shout out because we're just going to say your name.
Yeah.
We're going to say your full Christian name, date of birth, and address. So,
Docs the podcast.
Docs Pod. Would you like a question, Sean?
Yes. Yeah. Go on then. Shoot.
Right, to celebrate episode 5, I thought I'd really push the boat out I did and as to whether this question was perhaps too large for
God
for the
Is it
pod.
going to be a two-parter?
But I figured, you know what? We're bold, we're brave, and eventually we're going to have to answer this question anyway. And it is episode 5.
Okay.
So we've got to celebrate episode 5, right? With a big question.
Yep.
This question is from our mutual friend Nathan Locke.
Okay. Shout out Nathan.
Chaotic Nathan.
Oh, yes.
And he asks us, Sean, why?
Wow.
Existential pod.
Oh, yes. It's one of those questions that I get asked, like when my kids are trying to put off bedtime as well.
Right.
Because they're very good, because I do like answering questions. If there is some kind of... If there is some kind of...
great for the pod. I'm so pleased. I thought you hated this.
But if there's some kind of scientific answer to it, I like to sort of use it as a bit of a teaching format, even though they're going to bed.
They're absolutely manipulated.
And they are. Yeah, they're just putting off their bedtime. And a lot of the time, it was like, why is the sky blue? Why is why just sounds very...
Well, kids are good at that because they make their questions fractal, don't they?
Yeah.
Like every question then leads to another question.
Yeah. And then it's, why is this? Well, why is that? Well, why is that? And yeah. Because why has a long tail.
But eventually you get down to real like fundamentals. Like, when it starts with why is the sky blue?
Yeah.
And you give an answer. I don't know the answer. Probably light refracting or something, right?
Yeah.
So you
go
go,
reflecting on the
on the atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's light refracting on the atmosphere, and they go, well, why is that? And you go, well, because light travels in a straight line, but when it hits something like solid, it bounces off. Well, yeah, but why? Honestly, you're actually getting to relativity at this point. What's relativity? Right, okay. You know Albert Einstein? No. Why?
Well, and then Carrie comes down I come down 2 hours later and Carrie's like, well, where were you?
I had to explain the special and general theory of relativity to an 8-year-old.
Okay. And then the second hour was string theory to a 10-year-old.
String theory. We went quantum. My brain is melting. I had to get out all the textbooks. I've got Stephen Hawking here. I've got Foucault here.
That would be great to just do that to sort of in the middle of a press conference or something. You got the Prime Minister there. We will do that. Why?
You nearly did a Trump impression.
I didn't. Oh, it was English. It was very...
You nearly... You didn't do enough of it for me to know.
Oh.
You went, I did it! And then...
I think my brain cut off. It's just sort of like, no.
I've seen these strings. We got lots of strings. We love those strings.
I think it was like, when you put your hand on something hot and your hand moves before you even feel the heat.
You realised it was happening. You're like,
mouth was just like, no.
Trump's slipping out. And he's done that a lot, I should imagine, because of his tiny, limp penis. Moving on. Don't sue us, Donald Trump. Donald Trump won't listen to this. He doesn't strike me as a podcast guy.
No. He's more of a golf person.
More of a golfman.
Golfman. That's his superhero. I am Golfman.
I love golf. I love playing golf. It's kind of my superpower. I got a hole in one.
He's got a hole in somewhere,
yeah. The Grand family in North Korea. I think it was
the
Kim Jongs.
Kim Jongs.
But the one before the current one, not but
Nam
something. This is Don't correct us, by the way.
Don't sue us either.
Very important. But they had the whole thing about he invented golf.
Oh,
yes.
His
code was he invented golf, and he played 18 holes and got 17 hole-in-ones. And what I like about that is that it wasn't 18 hole-in-ones, because he's leaving some plausible deniability. It would be crazy if he got 18 holes-in-ones, but 17, that's believable.
I got 19 holes-in-ones.
And I got one at the 19th hole, if you know what I mean. That's when you have a beer.
Yes.
And
if you do get a hole-in-one, then you owe the rest of the people you're playing with a round.
This is the second episode in 5 that golf has come up.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of a right, I'm going to sound so old. Oh, man. So, I've got an Oculus Quest, and we used to, with a group of friends, we used to play a lot of the shooty games. And then a friend of mine, just for something to calmly play while having a conversation, introduced me to a game called Walkabout Golf. Shout out Walkabout Golf. Fantastic game.
Please don't sue us.
But yeah, like we've been playing like at least once a week. Just like it's kind of like crazy golf. So you're sort of, instead of just playing,
Got to
like,
knock it through the windmill.
Yeah, you've got to hit, like you've got to get the angles and stuff. So it's kind of a bit more like pool. But it's just become this addictive thing. Like anyone around for a round? But it's something about golf. I think you can have that conversation with people while also like doing something else, like having an interactive phone call, maybe.
I can't remember who it was. Probably someone very cool. Maybe like Oscar Wilde or something, or Mark Twain. You know,
one of those smart people.
The sort of people who get quotes misattributed to them.
Yeah.
Said something along the lines of...
Apologies, by the way. My producer Milo is very needy this episode.
Yeah, that's fine. So there's just going to be a low-level...
One of them.
But it was one of these people that get quotes misattributed to them, said something along the lines of, golf is a good walk ruined. Which I always enjoy as well. But no, I do get what you mean. Like, you know, it's a... And this actually ties into Nathan's question. Because, like, you know, why, as a question, we're talking about the human condition, right? We're talking about what's important to people, why we're here, why we're alive, why we're on this earth, what we're here to do. And maybe, I mean, I know we've only been going for 10 minutes, but maybe the answer is just human connection.
That is such a major part. And especially nowadays as well, where everyone is so distant, yet so connected.
Well, I think the Pando did a lot to do that, because, like, you know, we still were desperate to be around each other, but obviously we couldn't. And then, I mean, actually, up to the minute news, as it goes, did you hear that they're discontinuing Skype?
No way.
Yeah, Microsoft is shutting down Skype.
That was the thing that really confused me. I mean, that must have been such a given to... were they even bought by Microsoft at that point?
I don't know, but
Skype was well known well before the pandemic, and it was in their lap.
It was the verb.
And then,
like, it was the actual verb. Like, you know, you don't search for stuff online, you Google it.
Yeah.
In the same way that when you video call someone, you Skyped.
Yeah.
That it had that kind of penetrative breakthrough.
And it was there. It was ready for the taking. They could have just sort of capitalised on it. And then, out of nowhere, Zoom...
Do you know what it was?
What's that?
They got complacent. Because they were the
only... blockbuster.
Because they were the only game in town. They didn't innovate, they didn't improve, they didn't upgrade, that it got worse and worse and worse, and then suddenly, boom, Zoom comes in, you got a competitor. And once they've got a competitor, what did they do? Not much.
Yeah.
Because they were like, well, we haven't moved in the last 10 years, why would we move now?
Why do you do now?
And now look at it, 5 years hence, they're going under.
But that's because, like, Zoom, I think that was one of their main things, was you could just send a link and you didn't have to be a member or anything.
It was so easy.
It was just so easy.
I mean, like, you know, obviously they started introducing subscriptions and stuff, which makes sense because, like, you know, they're a disruptor, like, you know, they've got to do stuff. But I remember in those early days, like, you could just hop on a Zoom with people and just sit there for hours. Like, you know, not to, you know, we used to do D&D, didn't we? We used to go back in during the pandemic. Like, we'd hop on and be like 3 or 4 hours online.
That was I think it was my first campaigns and my first DM sessions were... Like,
you
they were all
you
on
did a
Zoom
whole
to
campaign
warm up,
online. I remember, yeah. God,
it was a good warm up, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it makes you think, doesn't it? It really wasn't that long ago. Do you think? Okay, we're getting into, because this is existential pod. Do you think, as a species, we've fully gotten to grips with what happened to us during the pandemic?
I don't think so. I think there's still I mean, looking at it from an adult that had young children at the time during the pandemic.
And of course, it was 5 years ago as well, so they would have been young.
Yeah, so my youngest, she just finished preschool and was just going into reception. And my oldest was in year 2. So that was nearly 2 to 3 years of absolute chaos in terms of education, in terms of connection with their like with friends and family and stuff like that. So yeah, it was, I think it's still parts of it are kind of trying to piece themselves back together again in the way that some kids and some results are still trying to work their way back to what they were. And I think it's going to take a few years more at least until things are going to get back to an even keel where that school going generation are moving on, I suppose. I think it sounds really mean, but I think that's going to be something that affects them for a long time. Kind of like how, well, for us, funnily enough, like we're millennials, but before us we're Generation X, after us are Generation Z. Fuck you, it's Z.
Don't sue us, America.
But yeah, technically we would be Generation Y, but with things being as they are, we are Generation Y!
Generation Y, because of the question.
Exactly.
Very good.
Yeah.
I think there were vested interests who were determined to rush us to be okay with what happened.
Was it Eat Out to Help Out?
Oh, God.
Or Dine Out to Help Out, or whatever
Yeah, he had to help out. Someone should have talked to someone about the name strategy of that. Like, I know we all made jokes about it at the time, but like seriously, Eat Out to Help Out.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we just well, you know, I mean, good on the Conservatives for celebrating lesbianism, I suppose.
Or toxic masculinity.
Not that I'm saying that men can't. I'm just saying that men generally don't.
When they should.
Because they're lazy.
Yes.
Lazy. Oh, my jaw hurts. Shut up.
Yeah, shut up and do your job.
Shut up and answer the question.
It's reciprocal, you prick.
Yeah, it's reciprocal. Don't sue us. But yeah.
No, it's not even about a don't sue us thing. Do your job. If you're expecting it, fucking do it yourself.
Actually, yeah, sue us. Go on.
Please don't. Please. No. It was a bit.
No.
It was a bit.
No. Right, well, that was not funny, what we just did. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, no, that was just quite a conversation there. That was probably
this
5 episodes in, and we finally had a conversation.
Well, this was my worry. This was my worry coming into this with asking a question like, why? Because, like, I know what Nathan was trying to do. I know he's a funny chap. He's chaotic Nathan. But what ended up happening is that we actually got quite serious for a minute. And I think we actually owe it to ourselves to be serious about a question like this.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we started talking about human connection here, which obviously led us onto the pandemic and how, you know, maintaining human connection in the face of being unable to be around each other. And it makes you realise, I mean, again, it wasn't that long ago, really, the pandemic. It's only 5 years ago when it started. Around this sort of time, actually, because we're in March now.
Yeah, because we moved into this house the first week of April, which was the first weekend of lockdown.
Right. So, you know, it really wasn't that long ago. Like, 5 years is not a long time. And, like, we were clamouring, weren't we? We all went insane. And we were clamouring for human connection where there just wasn't any.
To the point where people were breaking the rules to do it.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that was another point. Like the people who lived alone.
I'm sorry for all of those people.
What could they have done? I mean,
nothing.
I mean, my brother moved in on his own. I think that year as well, the 2020. And then once he was there was another lockdown, and then he was just stuck. And I think it was my mum, bless her, she was making food for him and stuff and just leaving it there, like when she could. But man, I can't think, like, stir crazy is.
Well, I remember when they started letting us go to pubs again, and I remember I came to see you. Oh, yeah. And we walked along the seawall, didn't we? We walked along the seawall towards the pub at the caravan park.
Yes.
That's where our friends Amy and Lewis were. And I remember it was weird because, like, we were so happy to see each other, but we also didn't want to touch each other.
Yeah.
Like,
it was that
because we're both huggers, ladies and gentlemen. We're both huggers, and it was like, I don't want to hug you in case I give you the fucking lurgy.
And then, do you have, like, while we were walking, like, do you keep your mask on while you're talking, or while you're in the distance? And that was a whole thing, wasn't it? It was
a whole thing.
It's like trying to explain it to people who, like, wouldn't have gone through it at the time. They would have just gone, what you even...
Because
what
we were so conditioned, weren't we? We were so conditioned, and it was so weird because, again, like, we were so happy to see each other, but also we were like, this feels like we're getting away with something.
But it's, again, if, like, you were going through those times going, right, I'm doing my part, I'm playing by the rules, I'm doing this. And at the time you're like, everyone's doing it, this is fine, we're all doing it, we're all sucking it up for the greater
proud
greater
of us
good
as a nation that we were so compliant, like.
And then it turned out that just shit hit the fan. But
not to get political, but I hope
you did say no politics today, and we've been fighting.
No politics, but I do hope that Boris Johnson dies in a hole.
Don't sue us, Boris. He's just
come on. You can't sue me for having an opinion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say that's just an opinion.
Yeah, it's just an opinion. You can't sue me for that. But let's lighten the mood.
Yeah, well, that's
really sad.
I think that like with something so wide as to have something as why, it does push. I think it's that word as well, because it makes you try and break things down a little bit more. And like, even I've heard recently, like a lot of people with the again, we got why is there always such a once in a lifetime event coming up, like more than once a lifetime nowadays?
feels like we're getting once in a lifetime events happening every bloody day.
It does, but a lot of people, when they're being interviewed, it's like they're asking, like, why should I even do it now? What is even the point? Which is quite sad, but there is also the why should we do it? Because it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like not just why should we go to the beach because it's good, but why should you look after these people? Why should you? Because there is an element of good out of it, and I think there's a lot of people that are just asking for some kind of not monetary recompense, but something else out of it. And by making it transactional, it then not sullies it, but it then pulls down on the feel good factor, I suppose.
There's a writer I enjoy called A.R. Moxon, who writes a lot about the collapse of America, but he writes about it in terms of how we've forgotten that humanity is a cohesive whole, but each individual member of the human race is an exquisite work of art, like made of all of their experiences leading up to that point. Everyone is a special thing. Like, okay, I'm actually going to move us on from this because this is actually a bit sad. So I'm going to try.
We're bringing it. We've got about 20 minutes of just going really deep in the weeds.
So I'm going to ask you a funny question now.
Go on.
Right, when you're on a train, right, a busy train, do you look around and think to yourself, God, everyone here thinks they're the fucking main character?
Yeah. What is that called?
It's like the opposite of main character syndrome, when you're looking around like,
there's a word for it, where you come to the realization that each and every person that you encounter has a rich and storied life that they tell, even to the point that someone that you passed, I don't know, 2 hours ago in the street, you were in the car, they were walking down the street, but they have their whole life and story that they're doing as well, that you have just literally just bounced off like two atoms in a...
Like, if you're talking about a busy train carriage, let's say there's about, just pulling a number out of my arse, about 80 people on a train carriage, including yourself. As 80 lives, and all of these people are on this train, none of them know each other, but they're all getting on at Whittam. So, like, there's
we're really starting to sort of zone in on where we are located.
We've literally talked about Malden Salt a few episodes ago.
That's true.
Every single person on that carriage probably doesn't even realise it, because they don't think about it in these terms, because why would you? It's a weird way to think. But everyone there is having a shared experience on this train carriage. None of them know each other. And yet, they're all from probably a similar place. And there's probably connections between themselves that they don't even know about. Probably never will.
And there's, well, with all the, like, especially with politics at the moment, like, you just have that one thing that you have in common that really fires you apart.
Yeah.
You've got that, like, you could have a total stranger that you don't get on with at all. But then you're always going to have one thing that you have in common. And I've got friends that I don't really get on with, like, greatly.
Sorry, I'm just enjoying the phrase. I've got friends that I don't get on with. Not friends, but I don't like them. They're enemies.
What
really.
would you say?
They're more sort of like arch nemesis, actually.
But I do have friends who have sort of things that they don't. Like, we don't click on everything, but then there are parts that we do have a really good conversation about because we've got that one thing in common. And then the more that you talk about it, then you have more things around that area. It's kind of like a crystallization point, maybe, sort of like that one bit that you can grow a conversation and other things out of that isn't which you personally wouldn't get on with other things. Like, I'm not a big follower of sport and football.
Me neither. This will never be a sport pod, by the way. Unless it's golf, in which case we've got a vast interest in that.
I wish. But then there's other parts, like I can have a conversation with people who are quite into sports and football about other things, about a little bit about football because that's what I grew up with. But then because there is a history of the football that I did attend when I was younger that you can still talk about, and so there is always something. And it's fun that, as you say, like 80 people on a train. Imagine what you could probably find so much in common with everyone. And that's what I love. Like, there is bound to be that kind of person who has that superhero ability of bringing a whole room together with that.
Well, I mean, if you'll allow me to speak to something which I imagine people might not be interested in, but I'm going to bring it up anyway.
Do it.
So, I'm not going to brag, Sean. I've been on the telly.
You kept that quiet.
I have, actually. Fuck you. Why don't you fuck off? How about that? You ever think about that? You ever think about fucking off?
All right, see you later.
Yeah, see you later. I'll do solo pod. Right. So, I've been on the telly, and I think this has caused me to think about this. What we were talking about with the train carriage, the amount of encounters I've had with people who have seen something that I've been in, and therefore have come up to talk to me, and like this has happened all over the country because I travel for work sometimes. So, like, it can happen in Malden or Whittam or on a train carriage. Sometimes it happens in London. But, like, I've been recognised in Leeds. I've been recognised in Glasgow.
That must be quite an interesting experience or a feeling.
Well, it speaks to what you were talking about, which was that, like, our shared connection in that moment is that they've seen me do my job. And, like, acting is a very interesting thing in that regard because there's sort of an element of the element of quote unquote, I don't like using this word, but quote unquote fame to it that, like, draws people to you in a way that, like, being a plumber wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so, like, but we do have that, like, a shared connection. But then, like, the issue I have with that, it's not an issue, but, like, what I struggle with, I guess, is that for me, not to denigrate what I do, and I want to be absolutely clear that, like, I'm very grateful for my job and I'm very lucky to be able to do my job, but I don't think that much of it. Like, I don't think that much about it. Where I'm like, I come in, I do my job, and then I go, and then because, like, there's such a long gap between when we shoot something and then when it comes out. Broadly, I've usually forgotten about it.
Yeah,
like I've usually forgotten about everything that we've done, but then suddenly it gets this new life. And, like, it reaches out to people and it touches them and they find it funny. And then they see me and they're like, oh, that was really funny. And I'm like, oh, cool. I don't remember doing that.
But it's because you are largely a comedic actor.
Largely.
But, like, no, for more than anything else you do, you gravitate towards comedy roles. I know you've done horror as well.
Not out yet.
Shit.
It will be.
Okay.
So I can talk about it. Like,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had
it on Instagram.
Oh man, yeah, I just had that sense of dread. It's just sort of like, oh crap, have I just broken an NDA?
No, there's no NDA.
Cool.
There was a short film that we shot over a weekend. It's fine, but it will come out at some point. Old Silas, look out for Old Silas.
Awesome. But yeah, it's because of the comedy, you are essentially a supplier of joy. It's something, because what you do
A joy peddler.
it's because you're making people laugh, and you can making people laugh is inherently, you can't be like sad, or you can't be too like you can't be too much of one emotion if you are laughing. It's because it's a scientific part of your brain that if you fake laugh for 30 seconds, it tricks your brain into thinking I'm laughing for real.
Dump, don't you?
Yeah, so your brain then literally does
all bloody hormones, isn't it?
Yeah. So that must be that's the good part for it, is that those people that recognize you are approaching you because of the happiness and the joy that you've supplied, like that you've given them, even though, as you say, like, you wouldn't go to your plumber like you see in the street and just go, oh man, my shit is working perfect.
God, I love your pipes. Oh, lay it down, boy. Yeah, man. Oh, I saw you grout that tile, and I frotted myself off to it. It was so good. And that's just for the clip. I'm just saying something for the clip, because let's be honest, clip-wise, this episode is unusable.
This is a very deep one. That's
honestly, I didn't expect. I went into this not really knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah,
and I'm glad we've gotten where we've gotten, because this is sort of a kind of it's a sort of a different feel to it. It's more contemplative.
It is. It's a yeah, as you say, contemplative.
I'm going to throw a question at you. Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to throw a question at you because I want to sort of keep it. I don't want us to get so too dragged down.
Yes.
In talking about the wheres, whys, and wherefores. Sean, what do you live for?
Now, this, right? I have had thoughts about this,
because I only ask because this could lead us to the answer to why.
Well, I mean, right. So, I have a bit of a weird mental health situation that's been going for a long time, and it does make it when you do get to down low points, it does make you think differently, or not differently, but sort of tries to make you. It pushes you to more a third person, or maybe a second person sort of view on the thing. And yeah, it's like, well, what do you live for? Would be like in your lowest moment, what is the thing that's pulling you, like, to keeping you going? And it's my family, is being there for them. But then why are you doing it for them? Is it because you'll be like, if you weren't here, it would just be more of a pain for them? Or is it something that you want to provide for them? And again, it's as you were saying, because that's one of my favourite things in the world. I don't have to have a camera in front of me to be able to go to my kids and then just have an absolute laugh. How we'd like spend an evening with my wife, and then we'd be in hysterics, and that's and just having a good time, and with friends as well, and that same sort of thing, having a laugh, having a conversation where you can just sort of take life lightly, because it is pushing on you, it is pushing down all the time, and you need that sort of vent. And I think the thing that you live for is, again, as we said at the start, is that connection with other people, to be able to share your experiences and enjoy each other's company, I suppose.
This is going to sound trite almost as a question. With regards to sort of like, your family and like, passing things along and like everything, do you feel there's an element of legacy to it? Like, do you think to yourself, you're leaving, like, one day, you and Carrie aren't going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And what you will have left behind are two wonderful young women. Do you think about that occasionally? Sort of like, making sure that you leave the world somewhat better than you found it by putting two people into it that you're proud of.
So I guess it's from the older generations. It's they when they're like, they want to leave the world, like they want their kids to do better than
Yeah, that's the American dream.
That is essentially, but that was at a time when the children, the offspring, could essentially earn more than the parents did at the time. And I think now it's getting to the point, like, I'm not going to be earning as much as my mum, my parents did, and I'm worried that my kids are going to have more trouble, like earning wise, than what we did. And it might be, I'm hoping that I'm wrong, but what I want more than anything else is that they have values that they can put into the world that will make the world a better place. They treat people as they're supposed to be treated. As you were saying about earlier on, people individually are gems. They're to be treasured, and they're to be interacted with separately. And I think that's a big part of my thing. I don't like generalizations.
Yeah.
Because essentially, as
generally
the saying
speaking, you don't like generalizations. But funny pod.
Yeah. But as like the saying goes, like, people are stupid, but a person can be a genius.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, sorry, I've gone way too off on that one.
No, this is good. This is good.
But so that's what the legacy is. That is why my get up and why each day is to just try and leave the world a better place than what came to it. Just tidy up after yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
How about yourself though? Like,
well, I mean,
because you've got a very different.
Yeah, my mindset's different. I don't have kids. I don't plan to have kids. That's not something that has ever particularly interested me. There's a joke, the joke is like, oh, I'm married to my job. But in a way, I think that's fine for what I do. Like, I'm not saying that, like, I'm certainly not going to sit here and say that what I do carries some kind of, grand significance. Or like, I'm changing the world. But in a way, I guess I kind of am.
Now, let me. If I'm going to interrupt here, so sorry that you didn't interrupt me, but I'm going to interrupt you. But Horrible Histories alone has left such a mark. Well, this is not only my kids, like the school. They love it. Like, every kid is just such a.
Well, this is what I'm getting to. Like, I'm not going to leave behind a tangible legacy. Like, I'm not going to leave behind kids that have been raised well like yours. I'm not going to leave behind, like, a family that, like, will then continue on and, like, carry my name into the future. But I guess I'm sort of living, because I don't plan for the future, because I don't think about the future or where I'm going to end up. I very much live in the moment. Like, my thinking is always that, how best to put this? So, I'm happy if I can make someone laugh. I love making people laugh. It's what I live for. Like, I've always been the class clown. Like, I've always wanted to do that. And I think to myself, sort of in those moments, like, when something I'm in goes out and, like, someone says they enjoyed it or someone says they found it funny. In the case of Afterlife, some people say, it really helped them. In the case of Horrible Histories, it does actually have a very tangible impact on, like, kids learning about history and, like, how much they enjoy it. And I think, honestly, that's probably my legacy. My legacy is sort of a series of individual moments where what I was able to do made someone happy or made their life better or made them just feel a little better in themselves, maybe just even for a moment. Because that's the nature of, like, I mean, obviously you're a voiceover artist, so you know this as well. Like, when you create something, when you create art, like, you're creating it to inspire an emotion in someone. Like, that's the ultimate goal. And I'm not talking like, oh, weepies or anything like that. Any emotion's a good emotion. As long as people are reacting to what you're doing and, like, get some form of enjoyment out of it, then that's fine. So for me, my legacy is just, I've got a body of work that people have seen and enjoyed. And hopefully they will continue to do so down the line. And, like, even if, like, technology gets destroyed, Netflix gets shut down, you can't get Afterlife anymore. But, like, someone somewhere, maybe 50 years down the line, will have a battered old DVD of series 1 of Bad Education. and they'll say to their kids in 2072, they'll say to the kid, I remember this. I remember this. Yes, you must all gather round and watch. There used to be this comedian called Jack Whitehall. He's an Oscar-winning director now. But back in the day, he was a twit. And there was this young man. There was this small, fat boy. And they put him in a cupboard. And it was fucking funny.
And I think it's funny you say that, because I remember when I was at school, walking to my friend's house. And I loved films at school. I still love films, and I love music. But he was more on the music side of things. I was more onto the films. And we were walking back, and he said, "The thing is with music, is like if it all vanished tomorrow, people would still be making music." But then my counter argument to that is, but if it all entered tomorrow as well, even without cameras, even without sets, people would still be making each other laugh, telling stories to make others cry, angry, that kind of thing. It's because there's this, and that is probably the why of it, is humans, as part of the human condition, we have that need to feel something.
Yeah,
and I mean,
I'd agree with that.
Like even to the point, like depression or something, is when you don't have that feeling. It's awful. It is like you can't you can't feel happy. You can't feel.
So depression
angry.
doesn't necessarily mean that you're sad.
No, it's
like,
just
depression is
literally
an
a
absence
void.
of feeling, isn't it? It's an absence.
So I think it is. It's that you want to feel, but then there's also you want to empathize. You want to maybe even sympathize with people as well. If you're seeing someone going through what you went through, or if someone's watching what you're going through and can feel like they can see where you're coming from, it then doesn't make you feel so alone. Again, bringing back the connection.
Well, I mean, to tie it back into sort of like every human being being like an exquisite work of art as well, like, the reason why that's important is because everyone has a story. Everyone has a story to tell, and everyone has an experience that they can share that, across, a broader population, a lot of people would have experienced the same thing. But that's sort of the point, isn't it? The point is that while we are unique, and while we are, dealing with our own shit in different ways, there's only a narrow corridor of things that can actually happen to people. Like, you're not going to wake up tomorrow and be like a wizard. No. Like, that's not a thing that's going to happen.
What's his name?
Yeah, take that, J.K. Rowling. It doesn't happen.
Well, there's a guy. He used to be on QI a lot, and he's on a few other.
Ramesh Ranganathan.
No. He's an older guy, but he sort of just tells about what happened. He's just this amazing storyteller. I think he holds the world record for the longest public speech.
Are you fucking talking about Giles Brandreth?
That's his name!
Giles Are we... No! There's 3 minutes to go!
No,
we can't end talking a Y episode about Giles fucking Brandreth!
No, it's just because of what you were saying about stories. I'm probably going to start another whole episode now. I do apologise. But I mean, when you were saying about stories being told, he is the perfect person for that.
He certainly talks a lot.
Exactly. But he's always got something interesting to say that can pull people in.
Oh, God.
There we go.
Charles Brandreth. So in answer to your question, Nathan, why? Giles Brandreth, that's why. This was so out of character.
This is such a different episode, and thank you very much. Maybe it's something that we do look into doing.
Sorry, my stomach grumbled.
Doing a bit more of.
I'm hungry for philosophy. Ooh, lay it on me.
But yeah, we just do a more serious one every now and then, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we don't plan any of this. I came in here thinking we were going to talk about like collecting cups or doing something mad. But instead, we really dug deep there. So again, I echo Sean. I echo what Sean said. If you've listened to this and got this far, thank you for listening, and hope it wasn't too.
Well, let us know your thoughts. I mean,
feelingsy.
especially in Spotify, I've realised that they've now got what's it called? Comments in it. But yeah, let us know what you think. What you think? Why, or what part of this podcast made you just go, just fast forward now, please.
4 times speed. All our friends going, oh fucking hell, they're talking about their feelings.
Putting the phone on mute. Alexa.
Don't shout that because we're going to have another thing. What have you done?
Yeah, I've just said Alexa,
Yeah.
so if anyone's... Cancel!
No one listens to these out loud, Sean. Like, they've always got headphones in. It's not a thing. Or at least I hope so. If you don't, then... sorry.
Don't sue us.
Please don't sue us. It feels almost trite to throw to an outro now.
Yeah.
But throw to an outro we must. Again, I'm not going to read them because we just got the thing now.
But thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for listening. Next week, jokes.
Yes, more jokes, more japery,
Yeah.
Silliness.
We really got to
hopefully.
space these existential pods out because I'm not going to lie to you. We've got another pod to do today. I am exhausted.
Yeah, I think it's 1 to 5 is probably a good ratio.
I'm really tired now. I just want to curl up and I just think about my legacy.
We need something to eat as well.
My fucking legacy. I can't believe you dragged that out of me talking about legacy. Oh my God.
It was a good answer though.
I feel really exposed now. I feel really like, we might have to not put this out.
Oh no, we will.
No, I know we are. I know we are. I'm going to do it to myself as well because like I upload it to Podbean. I tell you what, it's going to be really hard to write an episode description for this one because normally I'm like, oh, we answer this question and on the way we talk about blah blah blah. And with this, it's going to be like, we got asked why, and so we talked about human connection and legacy. Nathan, thank you for your question, and thank you all for listening. Oh God, this feels really trite. If you enjoyed the podcast, please rate it 5 stars. And like, share, and subscribe. I hate myself. Like, share, and subscribe. Share it to all your friends if this is of interest. And perhaps if someone wanted to find a way into this podcast and like they wanted to know a bit more about us before they decided they could laugh at us, then hey, just
Shut up and answer
the question.
Thank you for listening to Shut Up and Answer the Question. I am Sean Antony at Sean Antony VO everywhere, and my co-host is Ethan Lawrence, Ethan D. Lawrence everywhere. If you want to follow the pod, on Instagram we are on Shut Up and Answer Pod, and on TikTok we are Shut Up Pod. If you've got a question that you'd like us to answer, send it to shutuppod@yahoo.com. That is SHUTUPPOD@yahoo.com. The music was by Eyes on Legs, and the artwork was by Kitsune Kei. Thank you very much, Podbean, for hosting our podcast. And we will see you next time.